Hey YouTube, this is Meeting with Bam's Tactical. So today I want to do a quick video on shelter, so emergency shelter. So this is still tier 1, video 3 of our 20 video series. And so the first few videos are about short-term emergency survival. So this is like within a month, think short-term natural disasters. And we're talking a tornado, a hurricane, snowstorm, something like that comes through, and you need some quick protection from the elements. Maybe you got caught away from home in your vehicle, or maybe something happens to your home and you have to bug out. Maybe you knew the hurricane was coming and you had to leave real quick, or maybe the tornado tears up your house and you need some protection from the elements until it gets fixed, etc. So I'm going to walk you through what I went through over the last 10 years to come up with what I currently use. So we have this kind of progression over here. So let's go look at this tent first. This is a Walmart Ozark Trail tent. It is a 4-person tent. I've fit 3 adults in it, and it was barely comfortable. It's great for 2 adults and 2 packs, or 2 adults and a dog, or 2 adults and a small kid. And it's really not hard to backpack with if you've got another person, because you can split the weight. One person can carry the tent and the fly, and one person can carry all the metal parts. But I got away from it because I wanted something more lightweight and something more individual. So I moved to this guy here. And this guy came from Gander Mountain. It is a single person tent. I only used it twice and I got away from it because it had almost no airflow and it made me feel claustrophobic. So I moved on from there to the military sleep system. So this has a Gore-Tex outer layer that keeps you protected from the snow and rain. Hey Tex, and he just wants to play. But it's got 2 bags on the inside for extra layers. You can use one if it's warmer, or both layers if it's colder. Hey buddy, you gonna give me this? No, no. You gonna drop it? He wants to play keep away. So I got away from this setup because it was real big and bulky. It's heavy, and this pack is large, and it's hard to strap to your backpack. Tex, say hi. Say hi. Say hi. Sorry about that, y'all. He wants to play. I haven't played with him yet from getting home from work because I've been setting this up. So on to the next setup. This is my current one. This is what I use now. I keep one of these. Ooh, that lighting is really brutal, isn't it? Let me see if I can come over here. This is what happens when you try to do it all in one cut. Okay, so this is a little better right here. Let's see if I can get... All right, what we've got is this bug netting over the edge, on the outside. Inside, you can see the hammock there, and we've got the tarp on the outside. So let me talk about it real quick, get the lighting a little better as you can see it. I went with this because it's lighter and it packs up better. I can put this inside a backpack and it doesn't show, whereas the other tents and setups I had to strap on the outside of the backpack. They wouldn't fit inside. So this I could be way more gray man with hiding it. 2, in the hot Texas summers, it's very cool, right? You get a lot of breeze in there. And 3, when it gets real wet in Texas, in our 2 wet times, hurricane season and such, the water will just go right under you instead of pooling in your tent. And they make underquilts and overquilts that'll help you stay warm. It's really a great setup, and I decided when I was getting ready for this video that I will do a complete separate video on what I believe a get-home bag and bug out bag should look like, and what kind of shelter situations you should have in that. So that's your tent or hammock or whatever, but you need some kind of protection from the actual elements that you can sleep in. Next, we're going to talk about you need some kind of bag. So if you go with a tent, you want some kind of sleeping bag that you can carry. And if you go with a hammock, then you want some kind of quilt, either overquilt or underquilt, or both, depending on your environment. From there, we need something to carry that. And I want to talk about that progression real quick. So I started with an Alice external frame backpack, and it worked fine, but it was a little heavy, and I had a buddy who liked it, so I let him take it. From there, I tried to go with a more modern. This is a 511. I believe it's a 48. Maybe it's a 72. I don't know. Used it as a pack for a while, and what I didn't like about it, and what I was trying to show you, is it packs out real far this way. It gets real bulky this way, and it kind of pulls. You know, when it's packed out far, it pulls back, and it's a real sturdy, tough pack. Lots of pockets. I love the pockets in it, but I didn't like the way it packed out, and I didn't like the tactical look. So I went from the Molly exterior to the complete opposite. This is an Osprey, what do you got, Stratus 36. Real sturdy pack. It breathes great. It had this mesh backing with a gap here. That was awesome. Worked good, but what I really wanted was not a bug out bag that I kept hidden away, that I pulled out to sprint into the woods. I wanted something, an everyday carry bag that I could keep with me all the time, and that's why I went to the Vortex Gamut. And so, like I said, I will do a full video on what I keep in here, what I keep in my truck, and that sleep system with the hammock. But for now, this is just a basic overview. So this is what I went with. And why I went with it is because this is a gray man pack, right? It doesn't look like prepper, it doesn't look like survivalist. It just looks like somebody's regular everyday backpack, and you would never know that I had water filtration, battery backup, food. I even have a level 3 soft plate back here. So that's the idea, is I wanted a gray man pack that could carry my sleep system, it could carry my emergency supplies. But again, I will do a whole video on just those things. Next on our list is you want some kind of cordage. You could get traditional rope. I prefer, for this type of scenario, paracord. Paracord, and what I actually have in my pack now, is I've cut it to specific lengths, like 8 or 10 foot, and I wrap it up in small pieces that I can store easily in the pack. That way I can pull it out and use it for these small uses that you tend to have, right? Running a guy line, strapping something to the outside of your pack, etc. So after that, I suggest 30 solid fuel starters. So these are solid fuel, and they start fires. You just light them with a lighter or a magnesium fire starter, ferro rod that I'll talk about in a second. But why 30? Well, there's 30 days in a month. And like I said, this is tier 1. This is for an emergency scenario. Think last year we had that terrible freeze in Texas. If you have a chimney with a if you have a wood fireplace with a chimney, you could be burning wood every day to stay warm, and that gives you one of these to light a fire every single day. From there, my next suggestion is the magnesium fire starter, which is this. It's got the ferro rod and it's got magnesium. So, foreshadowing here, we're going to talk about this in a second. What you do is you scrape off the magnesium into a pile, and once you've got a pile of it, then you can throw a spark at it and it'll light the magnesium. So that's a great backup fire starter. Everybody should have one of those in their get home bag or bug out bag, and that's why it's in this tier 1. Next thing on the tier 1 is some survival or tactical knife. Now what we're going here for, and why I say that in fixed blade, is because we want it to be as sturdy as possible. I've broken, while hiking and camping, a lot of pocket knives. Pocket knives are great when you're just walking around and you need to cut something, like a little string hanging off your shirt or something, or you need to open a package or something like that. But if you're trying to do serious work outdoors, you want a full tang fixed blade knife. This Gerber I bought a while back, made in USA. It's like 60 bucks. I wanted to try it out. I've had it for years now and I love it. I ended up getting another one too. And it comes with this Kydex sheath and the ability to mount it sideways on your belt, vertical on your belt, or onto Molly. So to me, this was a great budget fixed blade knife. If you're not a tactical guy and you don't have something like that, but you've got a buck knife, that would also work, right? You want it to be full tang, meaning the metal runs from the whole distance from the tip all the way to the end of the handle, and it can do everything you need it to do, plus skin an animal and so on. So if you're more of the traditional old school guy, your old buck knife will work just fine in this scenario. All right, from there, we want a set of camo clothing or earth tone clothing. So I started my journey with a bunch of multicam, and then I realized I never wore it because people look at you funny when you're running around in multicam. So this works better anyways when you're deer hunting, some real tree camo. So that's what I went through for camo. And like I use it when I go hunting all the time or when I'm out in the woods. But if I'm going for a gray man look and I'm trying to blend in both the suburbs / city and the woods once I get out of the suburbs or city, I want to go with something earth tone but traditional. So here I've got just a collared Magellan shirt and a pair of khaki cargo shorts. And so these, when wearing in the city, people wouldn't think twice about you, but you'd be amazing how if you just jump behind a bush, how easily these colors will blend in with the other colors in the woods. So to me, that's my progression. I started multicam, went real tree, and now I'm just earth tone. Everything I've got is earth tone, like OD green, Ranger green type stuff, even for more tactical, because you mix it with some browns and some blacks, and now it looks like camo, but individually, it doesn't look as threatening. And that's the thing, is we're trying to blend in here. We're trying to be gray man. Next is a rain jacket or parka. So that's what this is on the table. This is my outdoor research Vortex rain jacket. Sorry, my dog just saw something that got him excited. This works great for me. I've had it for years. I've worn it in the woods. It's never gotten ripped. I've worn it in the snow multiple times in Colorado, New Mexico, and in Texas in the snow. When it's real cold and you're sitting still, I put a couple of layers on underneath it, like a base layer and a hoodie, and then I put this on over it. And if I'm just running around, like we were sledding in New Mexico, and I just put a base layer and this over the top, and we were 12,000 feet in the snow, and it was just fine. I was comfortable. So me, this rain jacket top and bottom is all I need where my environment is, but you may want something that's not plastic, Gore-Tex on the inside. You might want something that's fleece on the inside if you live somewhere more up north, more parka-ish. All right, from there, you want something for your feet, something that's good for hiking long distances, because again, if we're having to use this to bug out or get home, sorry about that, y'all. The dog is just losing his mind right now. Hey, buddy, it's okay, it's okay. Good looking out. All right, so I started with boots when I was in Boy Scouts, and I moved from boots to trail runners. At the same time that I was trying to downgrade, like from the Alice pack, from the heavier packs, and I was trying to downgrade to 35 pounds max weight carrying, is when I started getting into trail runners, and I love these. This is my second pair of trail runners I've had. These are the Ultra Lone Peaks. This is my second pair I've had of them. The other one I wore for hundreds of miles. And what I love about them is that they're real wide, big toe box. They've got a lot of grip. They're very light, and they dry very fast. So in Texas, especially here in Southeast Texas, we get wet a lot. And you're not going to keep your feet dry. So the idea is once you take a break, you can take them off and they'll dry. And I love them. They're awesome. I love trail runners. Look into them if you've never tried them. But the problem is they don't offer as much support, so you do have to pack lighter. So that's what I do. I pack lighter and then use trail runners. All right. One pair of gloves per person. These are just regular old mechanics gloves. I use these when I'm going hiking or camping. I have some leather ones I use around the house. I love mechanics gloves because they protect your hands, but they also breathe and they don't restrict movement. And if you've gone out hiking long distances, and as you start to get tired and you're going through creeks and up hills and stuff, and you start grabbing things, you start getting lazy, and that's when you get the nicks, the cuts, the splinters. But if you've got gloves on, you can grab just about anything and pull yourself and not have to worry about hurting your hands. Next on the list is Bic Lighters. I love Bic Lighters because they're very reliable. They hold the fuel for years. It doesn't evaporate. The light when they're wet, not soaking wet, but damp. And if they get soaking wet, you can dry them off and they'll work just fine after they dry. And last on the list is a sewing kit. So if you rip something on your pack, on your tent, on your tarp, on your clothes, you can sew it up real quick. And my sewing kit, it's inside. I'm sorry I didn't have it for this video, but it's just like a couple of needles and a little thing of thread. Like I said, it's just a patching kit. It's not meant to do any major work. I keep a bigger sewing kit at home, but in my get home bag and things like that, just a very small sewing kit. And honorable mention, especially here in Southeast Texas, any kind of off. I don't keep this in my pack. I do have a small little squirt bottle that I keep in my pack, but you want some kind of bug repellent, especially if you live in the South or any place that's damp, because the bugs get pretty wild. All right, guys, so this has been topic number 3, right? This has been shelter. So we've covered water, we've covered food, we've covered shelter. Those are the big 3, right? So from there, after you've completed these 3 categories, is when you move into the sexier things, right? The next video is going to be about personal protection. All right, what do we use mostly for personal protection in America? Firearms. So this next video, installment 4 on our 20 video series, is going to be Patreon exclusive because YouTube doesn't like us talking about those things. I'm sorry about it, that's the way it is, but I also want to entice you to go to Patreon. So if you enjoyed this video, go watch the other 2 if you haven't already about food and water, because they're just as important. Once you've completed all 3 categories, food, water, and shelter, then we can start talking about firearms. That's when you need to subscribe to Patreon. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave any comments, likes, subscribe, share it with friends and family, and go check out the Patreon page. Thanks for watching, YouTube.